Hello there, everyone. Patricia Hayes here. How are you today? I want to welcome you to Coffee Time Career Chat, where we are discussing all things that impact your ability to build your career and your business in a way that's authentic and sustainable, right? And that adds value to what it is that you want to do for the long term. Again, welcome if this is your first time. My name is Patricia. I am a lawyer by training. Don't hold it against me. And I do executive advising to leaders who are looking to get to the next level in their lives and their careers and their businesses, and to do so authentically and sustainably, and particularly making sure to leverage their professional relationships in a way that is not just helpful to them, but builds up their community around them as well. So a lot of empowerment coaching going on, a lot of networking conversations, some career development. And when I talk about career, I don't mean the next job. I'm talking about what it is you do professionally, whether it is working for someone else or working for yourself. It is all a part of who you are as a professional and wanting to build and sustain all of that. Okay. And we are talking about creative networking right now. I like to do little mini series that you can follow. They connect to each other. They don't necessarily build on each other, so you can listen to them independently. But right now we're talking about creative networking. And so if you are following for this month, last week was a replay session where we talked about incorporating new opportunities into your calendar and how to do that and why that's important. And today we're talking about 4 ways to expand your vision when it comes to creative networking, because really and truly the subtitle to this should be get out of your networking tunnel. So often people get into tunnel vision about what networking is and how it should be done. And anyone who knows me and all of the work that I've done down through the years is that I'm all about getting outside of that, right? Challenging what conventional wisdom says to do. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't great traditional ways of networking and connecting with people, because that's what we're really talking about. Networking is more than just going to an event, gathering some business cards, and then letting them sit there and then eventually throwing them in the trash. That is not what we do here. What we do here is we focus on building relationships in a very strategic manner, hopefully in a manner that manages your energy as well, so that you don't feel like you're wasting your time, right? That's the thing about why people hate networking so much, is they don't feel that it's genuine and they feel like it's a waste of time. So we don't do things that waste your time. We don't recommend things that waste your time. If you are being deliberate about what the actions that you're taking and about what your purpose is in attending events and going to, a coffee, whatever, then it all builds on itself. And that means that we're doing things that are sustainable for the long term, not just what's going to be, quote, helpful to you right now today. Are there times and places for that? Absolutely. But most of the time, it can be more effective if you have some sustainable relationship in place that you can tap into. So even in that in the moment activity, it's really built on something that has been in existence for a while, right? So there's a different way to think about it. So in terms of being creative in your networking and in your relationship building, really the first challenge for people is to get out of your head about what it is you're doing and why you have to do it, right? I tell people all the time, I detest happy hours. I've been to more happy hours than I care to admit down through the years, because maybe it was required as a part of a work thing or some, board that I served on or whatever. I consider them a necessary evil. Here's the thing. I will still go to happy hours, even though they're not my favorite way of connecting, but I always go with a purpose, right? I go with an intention of, hey, these 2 or 3 people may be there, so I'm going to go with the intentions of making sure I connect with those 2 or 3 people. And if I've done that, then I've served my purpose and my goal for that event, and I move along, right? I'm not going because I'm not a big drinker. I don't go out to just go do that. And, for me, quote, happy hours are not just fun per se, right? There are more things that I would prefer to do for fun. So always go with intention and being strategic about what it is that you're doing. And that will help you to not just expand what it is you do, but to do it with more confidence and with the confidence of feeling like it's really adding to your bottom line from a professional perspective. Okay. So getting out of that networking tunnel means thinking beyond the happy hour, thinking beyond the, even the conference or the workshop that you have to attend for work. Those are fantastic ways. You can check my other content on all the ways to maximize those types of experiences. Those are very valuable experiences. But what we're talking about here today is, how can you be more creative when it comes to building your relationships and the networking that will be sustainable for you through the long term? And so that's why I'm giving you these 4 kind of tips. And you're going to be like, this is so basic. Like, what are you talking about? But there's a reason and a rationale for each one of them. So stick with me here. And I will encourage you to pick up at least one over the course of the next week and just try it out. Okay. So the first thing on my list is to read and listen, right? Go read a book that has nothing to do with the work that you do. Read a book for fiction, read a nonfiction book unrelated to your work, read a children's book, whatever it might be. The reason why you're doing this is literally to help you get outside of that tunnel, to help you get outside of that comfort zone and to do something you don't normally do. When you do these things, when you do things that you don't always do, it challenges your way of thinking. It literally changes how your brain operates, and it creates opportunities for you to look at things differently and in a new way. So that's why reading is a fantastic way to help you with your relationship building. When I say listening to a podcast, again, something unrelated to your regular work, whether it's for personal development or professional development, listening to a new genre of music. I mean, like, think about that, I don't shy away from new stuff that gets sent to me. When a new article drops, I listen to my 22-year-old daughter who says, Mom, you really need to listen to this. And most people are like, I am not listening to that, but I will, because I never know what's going to strike me. And here's the real thing. Outside of that, once you've read that new book, once you've listened to that podcast, once you've listened to that new album, what it does, it helps you to honestly be more interesting and to help you have more interesting and more diverse conversations when you are out with someone. So if you go somewhere and you're like, trying to quote, have small talk, you can actually connect with people in a very real way. If someone says, hey, what are you reading? Or do you like to read? Have you read something? You can actually answer yes. Hey, I just finished reading this book. And having a conversation about it, perhaps. Or, I will always say, my daughter just dropped this, album. I listened to it. And I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed. It allows you to have a conversation in a very natural and authentic way, which is the number one problem most people have with networking. They feel fake. They feel like the conversations are fake, and they don't know how to engage. So help yourself simply by reading, by listening, by doing something. We'll talk more about that outside of your normal scope of business and do it just for fun. And that will help you to be able to connect with people later when you're out there, in some environment where you're, having conversations with people that you either don't know at all or that you've met before, but you're just kind of, starting to reconnect because of a mutual friend or something like that. All right. So think about it in those terms. Now, I'm not saying, notice I did not say go read something specifically so that it can help you do that. No, I'm saying go do something that may be of interest to you that you hadn't considered, that you're like, well, I've never really looked at that. Let me check that out, and go do that. And that will give you something to have conversations about. It'll be a great conversation starter later on because it will come naturally to you that you've engaged in that way. All right. So that's the first thing. Go read and listen, right? Read some books, listen to some music, listen to some podcasts, do those things. The second one, which you were like, well, why didn't you include that in the reading one? But I say go buy some magazines. Okay, look at here. Go with me on this. So here's my magazine story. I own up that I have this magazine, issue. I do. And it started when I was in law school because I was an avid reader. But any lawyers in the house know when you get to law school, you really do not have time to read anything outside of those books, legal books that they've got you reading for assignments. When you're reading 200-300 pages for an assignment, you don't have time to read for pleasure. And that was really problematic for me, not being able to read a book all the way through or whatever, just because my normal way of engaging with them had been disrupted because of school. So I started buying magazines more so than usual. I'd always had an interest in magazines since I was a teenager, so it's always been there. But I would buy more of them and across different areas so that I could get my, reading fix in. I could get my reading fix in, but the commitment wasn't as big and I would still be learning or, engaging in stuff. So that has continued all these many years later. My family has been like, oh my God, Mom, what are you going to do with these magazines? But it's so much more diverse, right? Rarely do I buy stuff that's specifically related to my work industry. It's always something where there's an article involved that catches my interest. Maybe it's a magazine on a hobby that I have or one that I'm considering. So I'll go buy the magazine on it. There's nothing more exciting, and I admit to being a nerd about this, but to go into a bookstore and just walk the aisles of the magazines, right? Just walk them and pick up something that catches your interest. Don't ignore it. If it's a cooking magazine, pick it up, flip through it. I love to cook, so I'm in the cooking section a lot, right? The travel section, I will grab something there and be like, ooh, look, let me think about this. What if I want to go here one day? Grab that one. Whatever it might be, it does not matter. But your goal is to grab something that catches your eye, catches your interest, actually buy it, at least one. You can flip through as many as you want, but at least buy one, and to sit down and actually read through it later. Because again, this is opening up your mind to think about things differently, to explore some things that you may not normally make time for, but it will add to your ability to have a conversation later, to engage with people. Now, am I saying don't buy business related magazines? No, that is not what I'm saying at all. I do it. I still do it. But I always still have something that's an interest, not because it's a should, oh, you should read this. No, it's because, oh, wait, that looks interesting. Let me grab it, right? I don't care what the title or what the industry is. I care about what's the content that has caught my eye, right? And then I'll flip through the table of contents, see what else is in there and be like, okay, yes, I'm taking this one, right? So you got a couple little tips there on how to scan through something quickly and be able to grab it and decide, yes, this is something I think I want to spend a little bit more time with, all right? So go buy yourself some magazines, all right? Again, for the same reasons about reading the books and listening to the podcast, which is it's really going to help you, expand your thinking, about some other things besides your regular work and give you something to talk about later on as the opportunity presents itself. All right. So the third thing is, now here's another one. Go with me on this. I want you to just consider going to a coffee shop or to like the mall, especially, an outdoor mall or something like that, and just go people watch. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, get yourself a cool drink, sit outside, and just watch the people going by. It is so fascinating to watch people interacting, to watch how people respond to certain things, to wonder all of that. You're creating freedom in your space, in your mind and your body, literally, to consider things that you don't normally consider, right? And here's the other thing, depending on where you are, you would be surprised about how often you may accidentally run into somebody that you know or that you've met before just because you're, taking time out to like sit and people watch. It doesn't have to be for hours, whatever. It could be for 20 or 30 minutes. But do it. Take the time, because here's another thing that happens. When you're sitting there not rushed by the quote next thing that has to be done, it also allows your brain to take a rest and go explore some things. And you would be surprised at how something that you were struggling with before, suddenly you've got the answer to it. And it's because you gave yourself a rest. And by doing that, you're able to think about, oh, you know what? I just saw, this situation going on there. That reminds me, I was supposed to connect up with so-and-so. And let me make sure I write that down and schedule coffee. I'm like, all of these things can, again, help you to lean into like being more natural, being more authentic in your engagements. Watching how people interact with each other will often make you think, ooh, I think I've done that before. I probably should not do that again. It's so fascinating. It's always fascinating just to go people watch. And it's great. And it can be great fun. All right. The fourth thing is to attend a random event just because, right? Not because you have to go for work, not because you have to go because you're on this board, whatever. Like literally, if a friend calls you and says, hey, do you want to go do X? Regardless of what it is. So when I say event, I'm using the word event loosely. Like if they just call you out of the blue and want you to go to, run an errand at the store or want you to go grab a burger with them. That literally happened to me the other night. Unfortunately, I couldn't go because I did have a different event to go to. But if I didn't, I absolutely would have just like, sure, let's go, right? Again, it's the opportunity to engage authentically in a very natural way and setting, and to take yourself out of your comfort zone of saying, oh, this has to happen this way. That's what you're really looking to do, is to build that muscle of expanding your options, right? By expanding your vision, by taking the blinders off, right? And thinking about things more broadly, by looking at what's available, what the options may be, right? Just like, when you say go to the mall, like window shopping, and people are like, what does that have to do with this? Because when you allow yourself to dream or to explore some things, it doesn't just affect that. It allows you to think more broadly and all the things that affect you in your life and your career. All right. So you're really practicing expanding your ability to think more broadly, to consider more options, right? So that as you go and are looking to build more relationships, you are not being so boxed in by it. Because that's the thing that really trips people up. When they think, oh, well, I only get to network this way, or I only have to connect with people this way. It's not true, right? So expand your vision, get out of the tunnel. Like I said, get out of the networking tunnel and let's go see like what other opportunities are out there. What other things can I learn about that will help me to explore additional topics, additional types of people, more, engage with more people from diverse backgrounds, whether it's economic, whether it's ethnic, whether it's experiential. I mean, there are just so many ways, right? Diversity is being taken out of context these days and put a nasty little, black mark on it. But here's the thing. Having a diverse network is absolutely to your benefit, right? That's a whole other session. You can go check it out. I have a whole series on diversifying your network and talking about what that looks like comprehensively, right? Geographically, economically. Like, there's so many more ways to think about it, because it helps you to be a more well-rounded person, and it exposes you to even more people that you can connect with that will help to build a very sound and sustainable professional network that will help you in the long term. That's literally what we're talking about. Building those professional relationships for the long term that will be beneficial to you and helpful to you. There are people in my network that I met many, many years ago, some of whom I may only talk to once or twice a year, but guess what? We still connect. There are folks that when it comes to you're like, oh, wait, I think I know somebody who does. I can go do that. When someone reaches out and says, hey, do you know someone who can help with this problem? I can say, hold that thought. Let me get back to you and be able to provide an answer to them. Okay. So this is what we're talking about. But this is when, again, you are allowing yourself to open up, to be open to new things, new people, new opportunities, and then doing what? Making sure to follow up. I will say that over and over. I will be a broken record about that. The follow-up is absolutely key when it comes to expanding your network, growing it, nurturing it. And how you do that and how often, again, check out my, DM me if you want the specific content, but that is all in my 30-day networking challenge info, where it really teaches you about how to do the follow-up in a sustainable way that's not exhausting, but that builds on itself and creates a momentum for you to be able to continue over time. All right, there we go. All done. All right. So we will continue with this conversation about creative networking next time. And we are going to, what else? We're going to talk about, how to get a life and improve your network. Stay tuned for that one. Okay. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, DM me, and look forward to following up. Don't forget to get signed up for your spring, professional makeover, I'm going to call it. But if you need a little time to pick my brain about something, so those strategic hours are power hours are available, or if you need something a little more in depth, VIP time is available. So just DM me or click on the link and follow it through, and you should get some information that you need. All right, take care, and I'll talk with you again soon.